talking about how Mike Lindell's election fraud hacking claims are false, and then the first time ever, my OBS just gets completely blown apart.
Takes a fat dump.
Unbelievable. Well, hopefully that whole thing got clipped, but yeah, I think maybe my firewall got breached. Who knows?
We'll check it out later.
Well, let's see if I wanted to. Okay, I just wanted to add some more detail onto this election hacking thing because people. This is a topic that you know I'm personally not involved emotionally in the outcome of the election.
Yeah, you're not.
I think you are a little
I
bit,
am.
which is fine.
I
I'm not
keep
saying
the
it's-
hope alive, but I accept the fact that the Dems were better cheaters.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad to be emotionally invested, but I'm not. But I want to address some of these ideas of the Dominion voting machines and all the stuff surrounding Dominion because that was what everyone was talking about, right? This is that's kind of probably what we're talking about here with this Mike Lindell stuff is the Dominion voting machines.
Dominion.
So I did a little bit of research on that, and
Did
I
some
want
digging.
just to back up what I was saying here. Basically, I wanted to back up what I was saying with the actual statistics data from Dominion, and I was able to locate some of the manuals for the voting machines,
Okay.
and I was able to locate the state of California's evaluation of these voting systems,
Okay.
which essentially is, before they decide to use a voting machine in a particular election, they evaluate it from the vendor. They say, hey, send us your whole suite of, all these different tools and hardware pieces and let us take a look. Let us look around and see if it'll work for us.
Yes.
So that's what you're looking at here on the screen. Hopefully people have made their way back into the chat room. I think, it looks like people are funneling their way back
They're
in. Sorry about
funneling.
that, folks. We got our firewall breached.
Yeah, we had a breach.
I have no idea what happened there. It's a crazy coincidence, though. Maybe the simulation winking at us.
Maybe a little bit.
I just wanted to. We were pretty much close to wrapping up the stream, but I wanted to present you with some backup information to what I was telling you with those voting machines and that information that you saw there. So this is a report from the state of California on the Dominion voting systems. That
Okay.
was an evaluation that happened in late 2017. So probably this was data. This was the machines that they used for the 2020 election. And I want to just point out a couple things here. This is going to be more on the technical side of things, but this is now remember this is experts evaluating these machines to see if they're going to be secure and they're going to meet the requirements for the whatever locality of government that they're using it for. So it was run through an acceptance and readiness test to determine that each of the pieces of the equipment was functioning properly and that all networking and permissions were configured correctly.
Okay.
So this is under the functional test and data results portion of the report, which happened to be conducted just a few blocks from where we live right here.
Heck yeah. Well, you live.
From where our studio is, yeah. Anyway, this line right here correlates with what I was saying in the debunking. Okay, this is where they say they confirm that each piece was determined to be functioning properly and that all networking and permissions were configured correctly. What does that mean? That means that these Dominion voting machines were not connected to the internet. They didn't have admin credentials configured like the lady was talking about in the video.
Yeah.
Where admin credentials being, like default credentials when you buy a router off the shelf at the Fry's, you log in with admin password.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of what they were trying to say was happening with these.
Okay.
But this report would
Says
confirm that that's
that
not
it's
the
not
case.
happening, yeah.
These aren't being used with the default permissions and default credentials.
I think somebody in the chat before we had to get off said that something about if you keep trying to what you were saying about the people that are involved, the more and more complicated it gets, the less likely it is going to be. So I think you can't really put malice in
Yeah,
here.
no, it's a great point because whoever said that, unfortunately, we lost all the chat.
I know.
Because that sucks. But
Well, when we go back and rewatch it later, we can see what they
yeah,
said.
I'm still going to see all your guys' comments in the rewatch. But it's a great point because if me, as an insider, if I was thinking of like rigging the election, right? And I came in there and I had access to all the voting machines and I was like, all I got to do is I got to change this one setting in here and then we can connect in from the internet and the admin credentials will work and all. No.
And you
it's not
think
how
they're
it
not
works.
going to pay attention to that and
First of all-
not log that?
First of all, that would flag a massive alert,
Yeah.
which means
You
an
don't think that
actual.
they have people looking for that?
It doesn't even have to be, the person doesn't have to be watching. If you do something like that, it's going to notify people automatically. Like you cannot change votes without massive alerts happening because it's hard coded into the tool, which is what we're talking about, proprietary hardware and software with these Dominion voting machines. And that's just how they work. So we know that the networking and permissions was not allowed to do default credentials. They were not allowed to connect out to the internet, which is what the claim tries to make here.
When my pillow guy keeps trying to make the point he's trying to make.
Right now, for those of you guys who just rejoining, we got crashed. We got our firewall breach or something. I don't know. Nobody knows. But we're looking at a report from California State on when they were evaluating the Dominion voting machines for use in the election. Now we're going through this, and I'm using this to back up my claims that Mike Lindell's thing is basically all BS. In the testing phase, they look at the Democracy Suite, which is what the Dominion system is called. It's called Democracy Suite, and it's it's like a vote counter, the servers, all the different tools. It's all part of the Democracy Suite voting system. They say here in their testing, the Democracy Suite voting system is a contained system that operates on a closed network. There are no connections to public networks.
Okay.
So as much as I want to say, yeah, no, there was probably some kind of hacking. There was people from internet, China, Russia, or whoever it was coming into these machines and doing who knows what. It's not possible unless somebody manually went in and connected to the internet, changed the configuration on the machines because that was not the default configuration. And if that happened, that would have been called out. That would have been seen. That would have been noticed. There would have been alerts.
Somebody would have.
It wouldn't have been possible to do that without getting noticed. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, good on you for letting the people know.
Now, one thing I will point out is that this review also contained a source code review, which, a lot of people have been saying, well, we got to look at the source code. We don't know what the source code is. Can they change votes? Is there something in the source code that allows people to change votes, et cetera, et cetera? The review says that the source code was reviewed and there were no vulnerabilities found. But they say that it was proprietary software and firmware, obviously, because it was all developed by Dominion. They said it was tested, it meets compliance, there's no vulnerabilities found. Which, now, I'm going to be on your guys' side now. I'm going to call bullshit on that. Of course, you didn't find vulnerabilities because it's a proprietary piece of software. The way that you find vulnerabilities is that something is used so widely that it becomes there's an incentive to breach into it, and then security researchers and hackers will look at it and they will discover these things as they play with them over time. But with proprietary hardware and software, it's not running off of Windows. It's not running off of Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Internet Explorer, which are existing tools that a lot of people use. You're not going to find vulnerabilities in these tools because it's proprietary, completely custom code. And these vulnerability scanning tools that they use, these code analysis tools that they use, they only scan for things that are existing problems. So there could be problems in there, but these scanning tools will not recognize them because, again, it's proprietary software. Nobody's found any issues with it yet.
Yeah.
So I do want to give a little bit of a, I don't want to completely take a dump on everybody who wants these things to have been the source of their loss for the election. It's definitely not a clean-cut thing.
Oh man, we got such a beautiful soul in the chat right now, Jeremy. That's hating on your analysis of Mike Lindell's analysis.
Oh, perfect. Because I want to.
But Stalking Horse deleted his comments. Yeah.
Christ.
I was there live to watch it. And he said, "F you guys are wrong."
They were hooked up to the internet though. Okay, so he says they were hooked up to the internet.
Okay.
They did call it out. You guys know nothing. Okay, so he missed the first portion of the debunk where I debunked every other reason why it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Even before we got to the part where they're connected to the internet. So the whole 90% of the way that I debunked this,
you missed it, buddy,
was giving them the leeway in assuming that these were connected to the internet. So even if these were connected to the internet, there's still 20,000 different ways that that's a bullshit report.
Yeah.
And if you also have a degree in cyber defense, as I do, if you also have been working in cybersecurity for 16 years, then present your argument and I'll evaluate it. But Yeah, no.
Yeah, he
that's-
said he's gonna unsubscribe too. Okay,
Oh no.
darn. You know, buddy, my suggestion to you would be watch Jeremy Breakdown in the last video.
Watch the full debunk. See,
Yeah,
that's-
watch the full
this is
debunk.
That's the problem. Is that these, and this is exactly why I'm trying to do the debunk as a public service, because you got guys like that who are out there saying, "Storm the Capitol, come on,
Yeah.
Patriots! We got to fight back, Patriots! They stole the election, Patriots!" And those are the guys who aren't really doing anything productive.
Yeah, thanks, Captain the Dog, for your criticism. But our critique for you is to go back and watch what we have to say, and you know, hopefully you'll change your mind. But you know, your mind is probably not going to get changed anytime soon.
No, it's
so
fine. I presented the evidence. And
God bless you.
yeah, but anyway, that's kind of how I came across this in the first place. Was somebody sent this as an
Giggity.
email chain to somebody I know, and then the I think there was the forward was, "This is it," in all caps with like 8 exclamation points, and I'm like, oh god.
So you know it's serious.
I don't want to be associated with these people because again, this is magic. These people don't understand how this stuff works. And they're making all these assumptions. They see something technical and they hear a report from one place and they think that, you know, that's how everything went. It's not. Unfortunately, that's not reality.
Well, you know what, Jeremy? I'm thankful to have you in my life because otherwise I would be like the Captain the Dog
I didn't even list all the certifications.
and
that I
listening to
have.
Mike Lindell and thinking, oh my God, Mike Lindell knows what's up.
If you don't have an open mind, we got an open door. Yes, exactly. But that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to weed those guys out. I was throwing the smoke grenade in, and then they run out. Because if you hear my analysis as somebody who has a cybersecurity knowledge, just break down objectively what's wrong with that. There was no opinion. I wasn't emotionally involved in that analysis at all. I'm just giving you the perspective of a cybersecurity expert. That's all I was doing. And if you smash down like that guy off of an objective description of what you're seeing, it would be like him. Let's say he's a carpenter building houses for his entire life. And then I walk up as somebody who's never built a house and I say, "Hey, you did this stud wrong over there." Or this isn't, you
Yeah,
didn't do
right?
that's not how you do foundations. Somebody told me that the foundations were poured in the improper manner, which is what he was trying to say. He was trying to
Yeah.
say, somebody said they were connected to the internet. Okay.
Somebody told you that
maybe,
they
but I
were.
already told you 4 ways that that's a problem.
That there's no evidence to back that claim up. That
You
they
didn't
were,
do the wiring
Right.
right over there. Okay, I've been doing electrician for 50 years. Just let me tell you how it's done.
they're not happy that
I'm an expert. Trust the experts.
they're
Okay.
not happy that Stalking Horse deleted his comments and kicked him out. But I mean, I personally wouldn't do it either. I don't believe in censorship. I want to know who the idiots are.
Okay. Well, he was saying dumb stuff like, "Who's a little boy" and stuff like that. Yeah,
I think he's the
No,
little-
he let him have like 20 says in, which is I think he said "fuck you guys" and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You fucking suck. Yeah. No, that was
12 views. Yeah,
I think there was
12 more than what you got, buddy.
it was an appropriate response by the mods. Good job, mods, on that
Good job,
one. You let him
mods. Mm-hmm.
talk for like 20 lines, and then he got out of hand, and perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
just walk his ass right out like a good bouncer.
Well done. Well
Yes.
done. So those voting machines are not internet-enabled devices, says Region Zen. By default, these are not configured to be connected to the internet. They all operate in the manufacturer's instructions and the configuration do not allow them to be connected to the internet by default. You have to go in and manually change settings to even allow it to connect to the internet. And like I said, we went through the voting evaluation, the report that the state of California did. I also actually went through the so to give the captain, whatever his name was, a little bit of a
Captain the Dog.
shout out. I did go through the state of Texas. They evaluated the Dominion voting machines and they rejected them.
Okay.
All those examiner reports are available online. You can go in and see exactly why each person looked at it and said, this does not meet our criteria. They said in those reports that they are able to be connected to the internet, but it's not.
It's not standard.
Not standard.
It's not by default. It's not like
Yeah.
you turn the damn thing on and it goes boop, internet connection.
Exactly.
They don't do that by default. You actually have to physically go in and change the settings, and when you do that, it leaves a record. So they
And-
would be able to see if
Exactly.
they would be able to see, oh,
And-
this person logged in and changed the settings.
Not only that, but there's a question here of where is this IP? Because in the Mike Lindell thing, they gave you a spreadsheet and they said IP target and stuff like that. okay, what exactly are they logging into, quote unquote, logging into?
Yeah.
So you got that question. And then you're presented with this. This is an actual diagram of the Democracy Suite system.
Okay.
Okay, so this is
They
what it
even
looks.
break it down with pictures.
No, yeah, that's how we do it here. Okay, this is what, if you set up in a Golden One Center where they took the votes,
Yeah.
so whatever your locality voting center is, this is what the infrastructure looks like.
Okay.
So you've got a bunch of different devices all connected to each other, and this shows you the entire workflow from start to finish for the Dominion voting systems voting procedure. So it starts where you have people recording data preliminary to kind of set up the election, set up the event in the system, and that gets placed into the central server, which it's at the center of the local network that you're running on. Now, if we scroll down a little bit here, you can see that this communicates with in and out of the so the system has inputs and outputs. It's got audio ballots for probably blind or whatever, electronic ballots, ballot images, election files, security keys that go into the system, which are called the image cast. Image cast is the device that takes the ballot in and counts the vote and then sends the vote result files out to the Democracy Suite EMS results tally and reporting system. This is the only part of the entire system that's connected to the internet, because this reports out to the internet when everything's all said and done for real-time results or whatever it is. The voting counters themselves are not connected to the internet.
Okay.
The system internal, the management server, the database, and the network attached storage, which is where all the meat and potatoes are, that's not connected to the
No
internet. And these are using, if you look at the technical documentation, I'm not going to bore you with the wizardry, but they use non-routable IP addresses, which means that even if they were connected to the internet, you wouldn't be able to get to them from the outside. So, when you say they're connected to the internet, this is the closest that you could use to justify saying that they're connected to the internet. It's only when the results are reported out. It's not the system that counts the votes. It's not the system that changes votes. It's not the system that, stores the votes. It's just the system that reports out.
So, Captain the Dog, you've got the mind virus, my friend. Diagnosed. There you go.
He's got something.
He's got something for sure.
Well, it's cognitive dissonance,
Just on the Trump side.
And this is how, leftists can look at this and they can say that I am an objective observer.
Yeah.
Because I'm taking a dump all over the conservatives right now by saying this. I'm basically debunking the entire idea of the election being quote unquote hacked, which it may have been. I want to leave it completely open for this possibility. It may have been hacked, but what Mike Lindell presented to us, which he claimed was absolute proof.
That's not proof.
It is not even close to proof.
It's not even close to any kind of
Not
proof.
even close to proof. Now, let me give you what I would consider and accept as proof. What I would accept is images from these computers that contain unadulterated, unmodified files and everything that I can look at and open on myself in a virtual machine. Basically, they can make a copy of that machine and give it to me, and then I can open up that machine on my computer, and I can see the log files.
Wow.
I can see what happened, what everybody did, what every user did. So when they say that somebody went in and changed votes with credentials, I can see if somebody logged in from China. I can see that. I can see if they changed the votes. I can see all these things. Official log files from whatever operating system this thing was running, just log files in general, which is what you would use in a standard breach. You would view the logs, you would do forensic analysis on those, you would get copies of the hard drives, you would look at what's stored in the memory, you would look at what's on the hard drive. That's what would be acceptable to call absolute proof on some kind of hack attempt. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's, like I said, I'm just glad that I have you to break this down for me, because otherwise, like I said, I would be in the mind virus state like Captain the Dog, thinking, oh my god, it was a total it was this and this and this.
Well, the idea that somebody was logging in and just adding or removing thousands and thousands of votes from Trump, that would not be possible without massive red flags and alerts and everything
some
going
kind
off.
of log of some kind.
Yes, exactly. So
That's a little bit better and more believable than what Mike Lindell presented as evidence, because what he presented just doesn't make sense.
let's see. Love it when you talk cyber to me. Hopefully I communicated that well enough for you guys, because it's not it doesn't seem feasible from my perspective. The guy was saying the election was not a fraud. That guy was saying, I don't even have the certs, but I know what you were going to say. I took ethical hacking at CCSF, and we did some warp driving or driving back. Yes, OSIS knows what I'm talking about a little bit. He's
Yeah,
in a-
because OSIS is cool.
Pat Kolbeck attested to his observation of Ethernet cables at TSF Center in Wayne County.
TCF.
If I recall, he submitted affidavits connected to voting machines. So again, that's where I would present you with this diagram is when you say voting machines are connected to the internet, which one of these icons are you talking about? Because these are
Yeah.
all quote unquote voting machines. You've got the ImageCast X system, you got the ImageCast BMD, you've got the ImageCast Evolution, the ImageCast Precinct, the ImageCast database, the network attached storage, the management server, the database server, ImageCast Central, and then you have the reporting server that does report out to the internet for the results. But again, it doesn't count votes. It just allows the reporting out to the internet. So I would need to know some more details on that particular case. I would like to see it, actually. I'm going to research that. Rob, thank you for bringing that up, because I will look into that. Pat Kolbeck, I'm going to look at that. I appreciate your approach. Collective says otherwise outside of hacking the theory. Not sure what you were trying to say there with that one, Dari. The poll workers manipulating and changing votes makes more sense. Yes.
Yeah.
So if I was to give you a counter argument to my argument, I have to argue against myself and say that the election was still hacked or rigged. It's done with people putting paper ballots in multiple
Yes.
times. It's done with people leaving ballots out, shredding ballots,
It's more,
filling out multiple ballots
it's
themselves
more
with
people
signatures.
getting involved
That is totally
with the paper ballots.
totally and completely possible
Or I think
and likely.
what I think happened with a lot of the ballots was there was a lot of people who didn't want to vote for either Joe Biden or Trump, so they left it blank. And guess what ended up happening? Poll worker just went in and filled it
Yeah,
in.
see, there's very different ways that it could still be
there's-
rigged, quote unquote.
It
I'm
could
just
be
saying.
rigged or
I'm only saying from this exact perspective, from the technical aspect of how they say that China connected in and changed votes.
no. Well,
It's absurd.
China connected through brainwashing to get people to do the wrong thing, but as far as like technical, that's you'd have to prove that.
Region Zen says, I'm curious then, what are your thoughts about the guy who said he was able to access a Dominion voting machine by hacking the thermostat in the building? So that would be a case where the voting machine was improperly configured. It was put on a local network, the same local network as the thermostat, which is a common method for breaching, but that represents negligence. Again, they're not following the manufacturer's setup procedures. You're not following the best
That falls on to the person that set it up.
somebody either set it up improperly that way, and
Or
probably a
persons.
lot of times in these cases where you hear reports of people were able to hack into it, like a 6-year-old was able to hack a voting machine. You heard that. It's all bullshit because these things are set up that way, so they're easily hackable. If you put a Dominion voting machine on a local network, yes, I can demonstrate 10 different ways that I can get into it if I'm on that network. But that's not how they're configured in the real world. If somebody went to a voting station and set it up that way, then that could allow the possibility of that thing being connected to the internet. But again, they would have to change settings on the device. It's not something you could do by accident. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's.
It's not something you could do by accident. Have to be intentional. Later, Dave.
Bye, Dave.
He's probably already gone. Is Mike Lindell still smoking crack? Maybe.
Maybe.
I never heard an explanation like this from the left. All they did was silence claims. Very suspicious. See if there was a cybersecurity expert on the left, they could have evaluated it just like I did. I'm not on the left, but I'm willing to debunk that. That tells you proof that I am an objective observer because I voted for Trump. I would have wanted him to win, but here I am telling you why this claim of fraud is BS. Why the hell would a voting machine have a wireless receiver? It should be directly wired with the Cat5. Yeah, good question. They shouldn't. There
Yeah,
was
totally.
there was one component, and I did a lot of research on this. Way too much research that I shouldn't even be giving this out for free. I should be charging hundreds of dollars for this research. But there is an ImageCast device that does allow internet connectivity, but it's not required in every setup. So there's certain situations where maybe there was this device in play, and maybe it was connected to a public network, but I'm not going to get into that. So if someone did that, then red flags would be raised on the server, I'm guessing. Yeah, so like I said, it would have to be intentional. Somebody would have to go in and change permissions. They would have to change the configurations, which would probably require admin credentials from the vendor. Okay, so when these are provided to localities, the vendor the same way that a vendor provides a device to a healthcare company or a server to a storage company, the vendor has more access to that machine than you do.
Yeah.
In this same situation, the voting machine is provided to localities where the vendor has vendor credentials. They can change how the machine operates. You would have to have those if you were able to change the ability to connect to public networks, if you were able to open up a firewall for, firewall breaches, whatever they want to call it. It would entail an insider threat, basically. A random Louie at a voting station that was just there for the day, who was trained in a 2-hour session, will have absolutely no idea how to connect that thing to the internet.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it doesn't sound likely, but yeah. The thermostat story sounds super sketchy.
Yeah.
That was a plot device on Mr. Robot season 1.
Yeah, exactly. The thermostat thing, we've heard, I'll be the first to debunk these bullshit stories of voting machines being hacked by 6-year-old at DEF CON and other hacking, forums, because they set them up in a way that you can access all the ports. It's not configured to manufacturer standards. It's easy to break into. That would be too involved concerning the vendor manipulating or giving someone else the ability to do so. Yes, exactly, Dari. I'm saying that if this whole Mike Lindell thing is true, which, things like the ID and stuff like that that's not properly named, and the fact that you wouldn't even know the MAC address, so how is it even in the logs? That's bullshit entirely. Aside from that, if this claim is true, it would require in-depth vendor cooperation, meaning the Dominion staff at various levels would be involved, and they would be providing credentials or access to these machines.
It's just too. It's
Too far-fetched.
It's too far-fetched.
Yeah, the possibility is too small. That's all.
It's usually the simplest explanation is usually the one that is the what happened.
But
so.
I'm not. I have no ill will towards anyone who sees a spreadsheet like that and sees Mike's presentation and thinks it's credible, because it's got technical information on there that the average person does not know how to decipher. They don't know how to read that.
Not everybody has a technical wizard like you in their back pocket.
That's right. Exactly. So luckily, you guys do.
They do. All the people that took the time to actually come and listen to us tonight. It's good. Y'all are very smart for coming and getting the technical rundown by Jeremy.
Yep, that was, we're doing a generic culture and political podcast, but every once in a while you got to flex your particular expertise so that people know you're not messing around.
Yeah.
Right. And hopefully now you guys understand that I'm not messing around.
He doesn't mess around. He's just super serious.
And I'm about to lose my voice anyway, so it's a good thing we're 20 minutes over.
Yeah, we are.
We really went hard on that one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope, I answered all your questions in a fair and objective manner, because we are alt-centrists and objective observers here. If you enjoyed the content, you want to see more, we're here live every Saturday and Tuesday at 7 p.m. And Tuesday and Saturday, 7 p.m. You can follow us on the locals page, weeklynarrative.locals.com, for the non-censored outlet that we can communicate on, which is slowly building up, and we'll have the podcast and the live streams on there and everything eventually. So now you have after stream. Exactly. Now we're doing the
After hours.
Well, we're calling it the inner circle now.
Inner circle.
It's the inner circle. Yeah. So for those who are following on locals, you're going to get a link on the locals page to our private inner circle stream, where we talk about anything you want. Topics are open, no censorship, because we're not doing it on YouTube. So hopefully we'll see you there. Otherwise, we'll see you on Tuesday, 7 p.m. PST, right here, Weekly Narrative, youtube.com/Weekly Narrative. Thanks for joining, guys.
See you guys later.
See you.
Have a
great
good night.
Have a great 3-day weekend.
Yeah. President's Day?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
I think so. I don't know.
So.
I don't keep track.
I don't either.
See you guys.
Bye now.